Awesome. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Looks like we have quite a few on the call. We're not going to do introductions of the whole group, but we'll go ahead and introduce kind of those from the STEM Action Center and Micron Foundation, or Micron Gives, as well as myself. So I'm Matt Thompson. I'm with the Idaho Workforce Development Council. I'm the Business Partnership Manager, and probably connected with quite a few of you over the last several months just in regards to the externship program and trying to get your support this year. We've greatly expanded the program with the assistance of Micron. This is our 5th year, which is really exciting. And we're getting a large amount of participation throughout Idaho in all regions. And a lot of that has to do with the goal we set this year in partnership with Micron to reach 100 opportunities for externs throughout the state. So John, do you want to go ahead and bring up the PowerPoint? And then I can kind of walk through those that are working with us. Excuse me. Those that are part of this project. So as I mentioned, I'm with the Workforce Development Council. We have Kathy Emirati with the Micron Gives. She's the STEM program manager. John McFarland with the STEM Action Center. He's the partnership coordinator and works a lot on the extern side and coordinating, efforts and working with them on what needs to be done as part of their projects and as part of reaching, what they're agreed to do during the projects. And then we have an addition this year, and it's Hallie Holdaway with the STEM Action Center. She's new and been extremely helpful in getting some resources together, as well as working on some of the back end stuff as far as the matching process, which we'll talk about, as well as doing some of the verifications on the externs themselves. So when an extern applies and we do the matching, we also make sure we reach out to references to ensure that you're getting quality candidates. So as far as some just important information about the program, the application has closed. That closed on March 20th. We did end up getting to our goal. So, we hope to have all the matching done here soon. But this expansion and the goal of getting to 100 was really done with the partnership of the STEM Action Center, the Idaho Workforce Development Council, but it couldn't have been done without Micron support. And so they've really helped in providing those opportunities. So paying for the $5,000 stipend for the educators, as well as providing some additional support through marketing efforts, as well as the projects themselves will be utilizing something called Idaho Connect, which will really help connect industry and education. And those are things that we'll talk about here at a later date and kind of work with externs on. But that's an online resource that gives students throughout Idaho access to information about employers. So some of the dates to include: the externship will go from June 1st to September 8th. Externs have to work 200 hours, and they don't have to start on June 1st, but that's the soonest we would offer opportunities for externs. And the 200 hours is pretty flexible. So when you onboard an extern, that's something that you'll want to work with them on, is when those 200 hours were completed. How are those 200 hours completed? That's just as part of them getting that $5,000 stipend, is that they're required to at least complete those 200 hours. Let's see. Another big component of this is that when educators, your teachers, your college career counselors, when they're on site working with you, that this be an experience for them where they can gain information about the industry. And so we want to make sure that you are engaging with them, to the point where they can learn about the industries, not just the work you perform, but also the internal functions. So working with your HR department, working with some of your higher up managers, working with your staff to kind of get an understanding of the industry, because they're taking this information back into the classroom to help educate youth in your areas about the opportunities that exist with your organization. You want to do the next slide?
Matt, could I just add in something there?
Yeah.
Most of our educators go from high school to college and then back into the classroom. So they don't really have that kind of industry experience that Matt was referring to earlier. That's why it's great if you can give them kind of a broad overview, not only of the specific jobs they'll be performing at your place, but the other elements of what make your industry unique, so that they can share those back with their students when they get in the classroom.
Yeah, thanks, John. That's a really great point. It's valuable to them because they are not immersed in your industry and may know nothing about your industry. So we don't want to assume anything. We want to make sure to kind of be a thorough experience for them, so they can get that into the classroom and help students make those decisions as they start to graduate and look at their opportunities beyond high school. So the next steps, as I mentioned, applications closed on March 20th. The next step would be to do a matching. So the work will be done to look at the educators in your area and be able to get you as many resumes as possible. Some in areas where there might be more externs, you could get 3 to 5 resumes to select from. Other areas where you might only have 1 or 2 or 3, you might be getting a lesser amount of resumes to review. The resumes will start going out on April 14th. And we're asking that the selection process be completed by April 28th. And so April 28th is a Friday. And this is because all these educators that have signed up need to make sure that they have plans in place as well. But when you're doing these selections, you would do it just like you would hiring any individual. You're going to contact, once you get a resume, you're going to review it, see if it works for the project, and then contact that educator, set up a time to interview. If you are interested in that educator, you're going to reach out to them and select that educator by, offering them the externship position. Then you'll want to make sure you go through what the onboarding looks like, who their point of contact is going to be, what their start date is, what hours they're going to work, if it's going to be an opportunity where they're coming in every single day, which is kind of what we anticipate for a lot of these projects. However, some of these might be opportunities where you're doing a hybrid model, or you're doing a virtual experience just because of the area that you're in, or the extern that you've selected. Let's see. So once you've made that selection, you're going to want to let us know. And you're going to want to do this, as I mentioned, you have a 2-week time frame. So you're going to want to do this as soon as possible. The resumes that are going out are going to every host organization within your area. And so it's going to be somewhat competitive. So the sooner you contact those individuals and make the offer to the individuals, guarantees that you're getting the educator that you want for that 200 hours over the summer. So, John, I think you have resumes sent out on the 3rd, made by the 14th. We updated that, correct? Or are we anticipating having it out the 3rd?
Yeah, we're hoping to have them out by the 3rd. That will give them a 2-week window to interview candidates, and hopefully the offers will be made by the 14th.
Okay, so I misspoke there. Apologize for that. Resumes will be out the 3rd. Offers accepted by the 14th. But the point we want to hit home here is that as soon as you get those resumes, start contacting those educators. That way, again, you get the educator that you want for your project, because it is a very competitive process. As I mentioned, provide a point of contact, set up an agreed work schedule. And we have on here, finalize the project. When you first submitted your request to host an extern, you put on a general idea of what your project would look like. That may change depending on the extern you select. So we ask, once that extern selected, that the agreed upon project that you've decided on that's been communicated to the educator also be communicated to us. Just so there's that understanding that when they start, they have an understanding of what their scope of work is. And then we use that scope of work to help set up the workers' compensation that'll be paid on our end.
One thing I might add in here too, veteran hosts that are on the call may want to jump in too, but a lot of times first-time hosts greatly underestimate the capacity that educators can bring. I've heard a number of times when we do our interviews that we had a project we thought would last 200 hours that lasted 50. So make sure you're thinking of what that work might look like, and if you have additional projects they can work on, because I think you'll be surprised at how much they can accomplish.
And John, I do want to, sorry, there was Kathy.
That's just me. Yeah. There's a comment in the chat. I think John replied already. The start date can be before June 1st. I don't know if you want to expand on that a little bit. It really, based on what Matt just described, the conversation with the extern. Would that need any extra planning or permission through STEM Action Center?
Well, it's happened. There's been a few times that's happened just because it happens to align with a project that the host site has and the extern has been able to start. We don't, because this is a statewide project, some educators get out in May, some don't get out till June. But if you have a project that you're looking for it to start before that June 1 date and it works for the extern that you're hoping to select, then that's fine. Just let us know. And then when the extern files the schedule with the STEM Action Center, we'll be aware of that.
Yeah, thanks. So the one thing I wanted to talk about a little bit more, and maybe John and Kathy, you can kind of discuss this as well, just because you brought up the projects. The thing to consider when you're doing these projects is that we are asking educators to help populate the Idaho Connect website with information about the host organization. And we see this as a benefit to the host organization because it's giving you a platform to post videos and information about your organization or company that will stay on that site and be accessible to educators and high school students throughout the state. This is a nationwide platform. So right now, students can go on and research employers anywhere in the US. And if you think it's beneficial to connect early and connect often with students to get them interested in your industry, then this platform is a great opportunity because it's bridging that gap between industry and education. It's helping students take the time to go online and learn about your organization to see if that's either industry or company that they want to kind of align their education to as they do some career exploration and as they think about the next steps after high school. All right, so John, is there anything else we'd like to add at this point?
Yeah, I'm just going through the chat now. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. In terms of number of applicants, right now, we've actually done targeted outreach to some of the areas where we have positions but don't have externs. We currently have 89 externs statewide, but we're looking to add to that so that you guys have the opportunity to have an externship or have an extern for your opportunity. And so that's what we're doing this week. We're looking at externs who are in those areas where we need more applicants. Let's see what else.
John, are you the one to have received the information if there is going to be a change in timing or change in the scope of the project? Is it?
Yeah, just send that. Yeah, send that to Hallie and myself. That would be great. Hallie will send the slideshow out to everyone afterwards. We'll also have it posted on the website. If you want to watch that at a later date or share it with, if you're not actually the on-site mentor, you can share it with who is in your organization. See, Ren asked a question, who exactly do we communicate selections? So once you select that extern, it is the extern's responsibility to contact Hallie and myself and let us know that they have accepted an externship with the host site, and then they'll share with us that contact information.
There was another question. I think Kathy already answered it, but if the project changes or when we do have a selection, anything else, it sounds like we can go ahead and communicate with John and Hallie with the extern, and just as long as you're aware.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, all right, that sounds good.
And just in terms of the scheduling, one of the things that's been really great working with the host sites is they have been flexible. A lot of our educators, you know, it's their summer off, but obviously they're engaging in this opportunity, but they might have a family vacation. They might be going to other professional development. So the flexibility that you guys provide has been great. Some externs have worked 5 40-hour weeks and are done. Some work 2 to 3 days a week and spread it over the summer. That really is up to whatever's going to work for your workflow and for their schedule. But we really, that hasn't been an issue. It seems like that works out pretty well every summer. Let's see.
There's a couple more questions. There was one regarding the 200 hours minimum, and that is, you know, when that is the minimum we have on there for the externship, is that when they sign up, they're asked to work those 200 hours. Correct, John?
No, that's fine. Jennifer Meyer asked, do externs get any choice who receives their resumes? So when we look at the applications they submitted, we look at their areas of strengths, and we also look at the areas that they are hoping to strengthen. And then based on that, we send those out and try to match them with your prospective projects. So they don't have a lot of necessarily direct influence on that other than what they submit in their applications. However, having said that, there were some host sites that requested specific externs. Those are typically in rural areas because of limited opportunities. And so those have already been assigned. Let me see.
Could I clarify on the 200 hours?
Sure.
The stipend covers up to 200 hours. And so if it's over, so go ahead.
Yeah, it is. Sorry, it is up to 200 hours. It's just the way the question was framed on there is, you know, do they have to work the 200
Oh, okay.
hours?
Yeah.
And I think that we do ask that the projects are set up so the individual, the educators are working the 200 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, keep in mind though, that when you bring on an extern, and we haven't had any issues with this in the past, but if you do have any problems with the educator to where they're not performing, or you just have any problems, you can contact us to kind of talk through those and reach out to them. You know, you would treat them like an employee at that point. So if you do, you know, if there is one that has to end because of either performance issues or other issues, we just ask that that's communicated with us so we can look at how we can resolve that.
Kathy responded to Chris Ferguson's comment about externship versus internship. These individuals are there to work. They're not to observe. So they're expecting that, looking forward to that actually. Gina also posted a comment. Not sure if it matters, but I personally can take externs outside my area if some of the rural externs can't get a host site. So that is great, Gina, and that gives us flexibility in being able to match. If others of you have positions that could be either hybrid or virtual, just shoot Hallie and I an email. That makes it easier on our end to get matches, especially in those rural areas. Let's see. Okay. Are we missing any other questions? No problem, Jeff. We've had several join recently. This will be posted and we'll send the slideshow out. So you'll have access to both the slides and a recording of this meeting. The question regarding confidentiality agreement. Yeah, that's something as part of your normal onboarding process. If that's something you have, then absolutely. They don't sign one with us. That's more site specific. David at Premier, can we take one more? I will make note of that. Actually, Hallie will make note of that. And if we end up with more externs, we certainly will try to honor that request.
And then,
No, extern, intern. It's a bit confusing.
hey, John,
Yes.
the question about, the term extern and how they'll be used working versus observing. Do we want to have one of our past host organizations maybe talk really quick about their experience and how they utilize an extern to kind of help some of those newer host sites?
Matt, who are you gonna have? Is Drew gonna speak?
Yeah, that's a good time for that. If so,
Yeah.
Drew, with Gravis, would you mind kind of taking a minute to kind of talk about your experience over the last few years?
Sure. I've got Sarah White with me here too. But yeah, we've had a great experience. We've hosted 3 interns now for the last 3 years. We've had a high school educator who was a technology teacher, and we've had a high school careers counselor, and also elementary school special education teacher. And all 3 had different projects, different experiences, but what I've seen, and I'm going to let Sarah add to this, but having them come on board with our organization and come into our organization, we've learned as much from them as they learn from us. So it's been a great experience for us. We've seen increased confidence, increased soft skills. We've exposed them to project management, and it's just been a great experience. But maybe I'll let Sarah talk a little bit about the mentoring portion, because she leads that part of it.
I think he overviewed it pretty well. But I have had amazing experiences with all of the educators that we've had. They've all been very organized, very motivated to learn. It has really boosted their confidence in technology options, because I think they don't often have the opportunity to learn new things when they're building their course design. So a lot of them have taken the technologies that they've learned here and taken them to the classroom, which is really exciting, because as a tech person, I see what my kid is learning in school, and I'm like, why are you still using that when you could be using this? And so it's exciting for me to see them getting additional tools that are more modern to bring back into their classrooms. Another thing that was really interesting is one of our externs was very not confident, thought that she was bad at tech. And then one of her big takeaways was that she's not bad at tech. And I think that could translate to the classroom, and the way that she, even if she's not trying to, she could be helping, kids think, oh, it's okay if you're bad at this because I'm also bad at it, kind of thing. And now she recognizes that's not really a thing. And so that's been really exciting. Something as a side benefit that we learned, one of our teachers has SPED background, and we're a tech company, and we have the majority of the people who work with us have some level of autism. I mean, it's the reality of it. And one in particular, is a very high functioning autistic human, and there's no doubt about it. Absolutely, definitely autistic. And I was able to talk to her, and she gave me a whole bunch of tools to approach that employee differently that I didn't have. And so it really helped augment my employee relations, because I didn't realize I needed to approach this person in a very specific, very direct way. So she was able to augment my, the way that I manage my employees, which was extremely valuable. So I don't really have anything specific to say about the mentoring, other than they are much more effective than you think they're going to be. And so one of the ways that I approach that is I say, here's a project that we're going to do. This is your whole project. And then if you are done with it in a specific amount of time, here is what we're going to do to add upon that. So they're not overwhelmed by it, but they have extension opportunities to be like, okay, so now that we've done this, let's go research these kinds of softwares and see if they can, you know, make this better, or let's dive into this research. So I have always gone into those extra tasks and always run out of things, and I have to constantly be trying to create new things to move the 200 hours forward. So really do be aggressive, but also don't approach them with, you know, everything. Just know that you're going to have to augment what you're giving them with a lot more tasks. So that's really all I have. I do want to say thank you very much to the program and the funders, because I think to all the people who manage the program and all the people who help provide funding, because I think this is a really great way for our state to augment our educational capabilities. And I appreciate everybody's participation on behalf of that. So.
Just to touch on one of the comments that Sarah made, is one of the takeaways when I interview the educators after the experience, one of the benefits that they really see is they suddenly have a professional network beyond the education field, which they typically don't have. And that has allowed them to bring speakers into their classrooms for field trips, for just expert advice on technology or whatever the industry. So it's great if you guys can help them expand those professional networks, because that's something, you know, as we look at bridging that gap between industry and education, particularly K-12, that goes a long way to kind of open up those channels of communication that can really continue to benefit those students well beyond the external experience.
And I'll put a little plug in for, you'll learn more about this soon. Idaho Connect is another recipient of the innovation grant funds. So every high school or every school that has 9th through 12th grade will have a license. And Idaho Connect is built on a platform, a company called Pathful. And it is exactly what John just mentioned, and what Sarah hinted at, is that it provides a connection from the business into the classroom. And that's something we want to incorporate throughout this whole experience as well.
Yeah, I do always really hammer that in when we're having our discussions, like, you know, these are all the places you could take X, you know, you thought about this, let me give you all of the ideas of the technologies you could explore. And then also, if you are getting ready to build at the end of the internship, we go through, this is actually kind of valuable. At the end of the internship, we go through and we sit down and we list everything they did in their internship and every piece of technology that they learned and interacted with, so that they have like a really good wrap up of what they learned during their internship. And they're always amazed by that, or sorry, externship. They're always amazed by that, because they don't realize they're consuming as much information as they are. And it just puts like a nice little bow on it. And then at that point, I always offer to, anytime they have anything that they would like to augment in their classroom, any lesson that they would like to add a technology bent to invite us to come give a presentation, and we will. So that's pretty valuable.
So there was a question that popped up in the chat, and that was, are all externs STEM teachers, and what grades do they teach? And they're not all STEM teachers. They are, you know, college and career counselors and teachers. And the grades, I mean, I think they go K through 12. The first year that we did this, the Workforce Development Council took a first grade teacher, and the experience was phenomenal. And what she was able to take back to the classroom, just from what she learned about workforce in Idaho, how different agencies work together, how closely we partner with education from both the state board and state department level, but all through the post-secondary level. You know, she is really able to kind of take that back into her classroom and surprisingly show her students, you know, at the first grade level, more about community, more about, you know, roles outside of being a police officer and firefighter, but how we kind of all are interconnected in the work that we do, and, you know, kind of scaling that to the attention and abilities of a first grader, But, it's still valuable information that any K through 12 educator can take back to their classroom, to their students.
And the research says that in the upper elementary grades, students, particularly young girls, start choosing their career pathways by what they can't do, not what they can. So I'm no good at math, or I'm no good at science. And so you see efforts in those earlier elementary grades to expose students to a broader range of careers and in greater depth than we have in the past. And that's why those elementary teachers can be great advocates for your industry and for what you're doing.
And I'll just pop in here. We had 2 externs over the years in the Micron Foundation, both elementary age, and just as what's already been mentioned, they went way beyond what we had expected. So just reinforce, have a couple different projects ready and waiting, because they'll definitely exceed your expectations.
The one thing we ask, and I'll finish on, is that they most likely will surprise you. They'll be amazing, and you cannot hire them. So please do not. We need to keep our teachers and educators in the schools.
It
Thank you.
seems like a joke, but you actually do kind of want to hire him at the end, so he's not wrong.
Okay.
There was another question back. Matt Robinson asked if they know of some educators in rural areas. John, should people send you additional names, or do you have enough in your pool right now to fill what's remaining?
Right now, it kind of depends on the area, but certainly if you have someone in mind in a rural community, if you want to shoot Hallie and I an email, and then we can look at our map, we have all of this mapped out, and it very well may be that we can use an additional applicant in that area. So we would appreciate information. Thank you.
And remember, if you can host someone remote and you haven't already included that in your information, shoot an email to Hallie. It's very helpful.
Good.
All right.
All right. Just don't see any additional questions. Anything else before we wrap up?
I'm going to pop up the email slide again, Hallie, and go back a little bit. There it is. All right. Thanks, all the hosts out there, and look forward to a great summer, some great results.
We greatly appreciate your support. Thanks all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, I will.
All right. Well, this was good. Thanks, John.
That was great. We at one point had 59 participants.
Oh, great.
Which means we had very few that didn't make the opportunity, but we'll send the slides out and they can view the presentation, which will be posted on the website. We'll send out that link later too.
All right, great.
All right,
Talk
thanks,
soon.
Kat.
Okay.
Bye-bye.